Our birds have got off to an absolutely flying start this breeding season. It's a year unlike any other. We have got loads to introduce you to today with our breeding pairs. We're going to take a tour around the bird room and the aviaries outside, and we'll see what success stories have unfolded in this first couple of weeks. Beginning in the bird room then, we have 17 pairs of British birds and canaries, and we also have a breeding colony system that is the first time we're really attempting this. So quite a few exciting things already. Now, as you can see in the bird room, we have given all of the cages a proper big deep clean, a big disinfection and sterilisation. They all look absolutely fantastic, and we've decorated them with a load of fake foliage for both the colour and the improvement of biosecurity. So we're not bringing anything in from outside that could have any diseases from the wild birds in. And by doing this, we have got off to an excellent start. The birds have responded to it very, very well. Beginning with our pairs of European greenfinches then, for the 2025 breeding season, we have 7 pairs of European greenies, which is generally a bit more than I usually have, but I'll explain a bit more as to why that is in a second. But this is how we're housing them then. So we have 6 of the pairs along this back wall. Each pair is housed in a 6 foot long, 18-inch wide and 18-inch tall breeding cage, and that has worked really well for me breeding them in the past. We've had quite a bit of success in doing that, so of course if it does bring success, I'm not going to change it because the birds are used to it. And actually a lot of the birds we're using this season were bred here last year, so this is a very, very familiar environment for them. Our 7th pair is in the penthouse suite, if you like. So this is a 6 foot long cage. It's 3 foot high and 2 feet wide. And that is pretty much what I'm going to call our best pair. So if I had to choose one of the 7 pairs to breed for us this year, it would absolutely be this pair. But that doesn't mean any of the others have anything less. They're all in plenty big enough cages, and proving that, it has gone down really, really well over the past couple of weeks, because out of the 7 hens we have for this season, 6 of them are now on eggs, which is really, really pleasing news. So we have all 3 here on eggs. We have the far 2 here on eggs. She is still building, and the only reason I think she is yet to lay is because she is actually quite a young hen. She was bred at the end of July, so I think she's just going to need another month or so to mature, and then she'll lay. And then we do have a hen on, I think, 5 or 6 eggs up here. So actually a very, very good start, at least getting them on nests and on eggs is concerned. So obviously they went down to nest really quite early, and the oldest eggs actually in here from the greenies have only been incubated for 5 days now. So it is slightly too early to candle them to actually see if they're fertile. Now, will they be fertile? I'm not 100% sure. I am a little bit sceptical, and I'll tell you the reason why is that clearly the preparation has been successful and very good for the hen birds. So we had them in the bird room throughout the whole winter. We've filled them full of loads of egg food and different things. It has really helped bring them into a good condition. For the cockbirds, however, it is a little bit different. We had the cockbirds outside for about a month in the aviaries, and I think it's been up and down with the weather. Maybe they're slightly behind the hens on condition, so will the eggs be full? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Like I say, it's too early to tell at the moment, but I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed. I would say, I imagine maybe 50% of the eggs will be fertile, and part of that is not only the condition, but also because these birds are exhibition birds. They're being line bred, and what that does mean in play is that you generally get a little bit less vigour in them if they're somewhat inbred, and that's just from line breeding a stud. So that is one of the concerns and one of the things we have to take a consideration of. But also because of the increased size of these greenfinches, they are exhibition birds. They're 3 times as large as the wild ones, which means they are somewhat harder to get fit, and you do have to take that into consideration as well. Some of them are from fairly different lines, and you never quite know what the fertility is like in those lines, and that's a consideration in the pairings. So one of the reasons that we have more pairings than usual this season with the 7 hens is because we're trying to now build our stud, pretty much cement the stud and bring everything back together, and that's influenced by the breeding success of last year. My best cock bird, who's housed in the penthouse suite, he is a bird that has won an awful lot for me over the past 4 years since he was bred in 2021. We finally bred off him for the first time last year, so now his youngsters are distributed throughout all of the pairings in the bird room. So actually there's one pair that isn't related to him directly, but every other pair has his daughter or his son in that line. So I'm hoping that by doing this, we're going to really see the stud come together and an overall increase in the quality of young birds that we're producing this year. So currently all the greenfinches are on a fairly basic mix. So this is a British finch mix from Countrywide. We've got all of the greenfinches on that at the moment. The idea of this is it's a mix that doesn't have loads of fattening seeds in it. It's not full of safflower, sunflower hearts, or anything that's going to put a lot of weight on them, because they are birds with lower metabolisms that will carry weight quite easily, the greenfinches. So having this in their diet is working quite nicely as a maintenance, as a basic mix if you like, that's going to keep the weight off of them to help them successfully breed. And what I'm also then doing is giving them a few different things every couple of days to make sure that they've got a good balanced diet. Here on the back wall we have our pairs of lesser redpolls. So this is where we've bred the lesser redpolls for the 3rd year running now, and it's been very successful in doing that. So of course, if it's worked, we are going to stick with it, because these are birds that can be quite sensitive at times, and if they're not particularly big fans of change. So actually having them in a familiar environment, where actually I would suggest that 90% of my redpolls here today have actually been bred here in the previous year or two. So that's really good. Now what we have is 6 pairs across the top, all paired up now. They've been paired since the beginning of April. However, as you can see, the nest sites are on the outside and they aren't actually have got access to them. So the idea of this, at least, is we're hanging the nest sites on the outside where they will initially be. We're going to put them on the inside in the first week of May. And the reason for this is that redpolls in the wild will generally go to nest around the beginning of May. And from my experience over the past 6 years or so of breeding lesser redpolls, and I'm sure something that plenty of experienced breeders would also tell you, is that lesser redpolls, pretty much if you go before May, they spend more time messing around building nests and then producing clear eggs than they do to actually trying to breed. And I've just found that you have a messy start with them, it carries on throughout the whole breeding season. So by starting a lot later at the beginning of May, I've had loads more success like that, and we've come off the back of 2 very successful years with them, producing very good numbers and very good quality birds as well. Lesser redpolls are one of the hardiest species I've kept to date, and it's all influenced by how you obviously care for them and mainly their diet. It's very rare that we ever have problems with them like coccidiosis that can be an issue with some other birds. They very rarely suffer from respiratory problems or any more common diseases or problems in finches in general. So what I feed them on is a species specific mix. This is a redpoll mix from Direct Bird Products. We've given them this for 2 seasons now, and I've really seen not only an improvement in the health of the birds, but the quality. Now the quality is obviously going to come from the selective breeding side of things, but actually having birds that are a lot more filled out and robust is all down to the diet of them, and that has worked really well for me over the past few years. So that's what we keep them on. We put them in the seed hoppers on the outside, very similar to what we do for the greenfinches, and the reason for that is when they flick it everywhere and they go sieving through the seed for what initially are their favourites, it stays inside the cage rather than ending up on the bird room floor. If you've been following the channel for a while now, I want you to think back to last breeding season, Breeding British Birds Season 4, because what we did towards the end of the breeding season, about probably end of June, maybe early July-ish, is we had a couple of older, lesser redpolls that weren't really doing a lot for us in the breeding cages. So what we did was we took them out of there and we popped them in this flight cage. So once again, this flight cage is 6 feet long, it's 2 feet wide, and it's 3 feet tall. We popped a couple of nest sites in there, and I thought, we'll give it a go and we'll see what happens. And by running them as a trio, we really made an awful lot of success out of it. In 4 weeks, we produced 10 chicks from 2 hens, which was amazing. Both hens went to nest, both hens reared 5 chicks. You can't ask for more than that out of a clutch. That was a really, really good result, and I was really pleased with that. So I've decided again, I think because it's a very natural thing for redpolls to do, which is colony breed. They breed in a very short vicinity to each other, both, you know, multiple pairs in the wild. It's probably something that's fairly sort of familiar and in their nature to do. So I thought we'll give it another go this year. Now, initially it was going to be a trio in here, a young cockbird with 2 young hens. It's actually ended up being 3 young hens because I lost an older cockbird just before the beginning of the season that was going to make up an additional pair that would have been 7 on that back wall. So we'll see what happens. We've got 5 nest sites in there for them, and we'll just keep us fingers crossed and see what success that brings. Despite British birds being my main passion, I do of course have a soft spot for some exotic species as well, and at least at the moment this is exotic as we've got North Dutch frilled canaries. So we had 6 pairs of them last year, we had 2 pairs the previous year, so we're slowly building a stud of them, and the stud has definitely improved in quality over that time. So what I've done is I thinned out the overall number and just tried to keep the absolute best birds. So what we have here is 3 hens and the best 2 cockbirds that we're sort of running over all 3, and we'll alternate per round. Now actually worked out quite well. All 3 of them went down to nest at the exact same time. They're all here. We actually have 2 hens on 6 eggs and 1 on 5 behind me, so they're all doing really well. They've been incubating their eggs. I think the oldest eggs are about 8 days old underneath this hen here. The others are 5 days into incubation each. So I'll tell you what we'll do. We're going to take an egg out of that nest, we'll candle it, and we'll see if they're fertile. Fantastic news then, the 6 eggs underneath that hen are all fertile, so really, really pleased with that. Let's just keep us fingers crossed that the 6 eggs under her and the 5 eggs under her are also fertile. I'll tell you what, that'd be a very large amount of North Dutch frills being produced in a very short amount of time, but we'll see what happens with them, won't we? Now, the Dutch frills are here in their own right because I do like them. I think they're quite a bit of something different. It's nice to promote some old and rare breed canaries rather than a lot of the more commoner breeds, if you like, because I think they're underappreciated. More people would definitely have an interest in them if birds were available half the time. I think if people knew they existed. But they're also very good parents, and what we do need with the British birds is always a backup plan, a plan B. If something goes wrong, can we save those chicks or can we save those eggs? And you know, it has had to come in a time or 2 before. Thankfully we didn't have to use them last season as foster parents because all the parent birds were very good. But I have done it before where you've got, you know, maybe an inexperienced greeny hen that's a young bird, she's never had chicks before, she doesn't know how to feed them, or she doesn't sit on the eggs for long enough. Pop them under the canaries will do the job for you. So I don't have to hand rear them, we don't have to lose the chicks, and I think that's always a really good thing to have. So the canaries are always a really good backup parent if they're needed, and they have saved us a time or 2 before, I tell you. You know, we've had greenies that have been really important to us to breed. they've abandoned their chicks, or they've thrown the chicks out the nest because they weren't sure what they were, and we've saved them under the canaries, even down to the conservation work we're doing. I did have to, about 4 years ago, put a couple of twites under canaries, and actually those twites eventually went into our conservation work. So if I'd not done that with the canaries, we could have lost them altogether. Having come so close to successfully breeding the European Hawfinches last year with, a tragic ending, we are going to be having another go with them this year, I'm pleased to say. And they are one of my absolute favourite species. They're absolutely beautiful. They're unbelievably interesting from a behavioural perspective, and they are really something that I want to fully achieve a successful breeding with. So what we have here is our pair of European Hawfinches. They are now a 3-year-old pair. So this is the original hen. This is the hen that had 4 chicks last year. She reared all 4 of them to 11 days old, and then it went downhill from there. So she's there. She's not been out of this aviary since last year. It's set up exactly the same as it was last year, so we know it should on paper work, and she is familiar with the environment. The cockbird, however, is a different cockbird. Original cockbird had a fallout with the hen over the winter months, and a couple of weeks after the fallout, sadly, we lost him. Not a lot I could have done about it, sadly. I couldn't have really intervened much more, just sadly didn't go to plan. But we do have another cockbird. He's a very, very nice cockbird. Actually, sort of a style and quality, he is good, if not better than the other one, and will complement this hen quite nicely, which is always good. But he's also getting on very well with this hen, which I'm pleased with. I was a little unsure how they would get on and bond, because they are quite complex in their breeding ecology. They don't particularly bond well, and they're very much like people. They won't just mate depending on, no matter who it is. They have to like them and then go through a series of dates and all this. And that's exactly what we've had to do with this pair over the winter, is get them used to each other. So the point is, they're getting on well now. I've seen the hen carrying cocoa fibre, so I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed. Please keep yours crossed as well, and maybe we'll breed from them. We'll learn from his mistakes from last year. Maybe we have to foster them. Maybe we have to hand rear them. Maybe we need a 24/7 live camera on them. In case anything goes wrong, I can get up in the middle of the night and fix it. But we will see. Keep your fingers crossed. Let's make sure we breed some Hawfinches this year. So that's an introduction to all the pairs inside this bird room. We've got our greenies, we've got our redpolls, we've got our canaries, we've got our Hawfinches. But of course, we have got the aviaries on the garden, which we'll nip out to and see how they're getting on in a second. But we've also got a new block of aviaries, or a big bird room if you like, for our conservation work. So we've got our conservation and rewilding species that we're going to be reintroducing at some point, and we're going to talk about those in a little while. And this is where we are housing our conservation project birds. So we have all of our twites in these aviaries. We have a big aviary here with another pair of twites in there and a pair of turtle doves. But we'll show you more of this bird room in an upcoming episode where we'll be looking through more of our conservation work. Whilst I would like to take you into this aviary and narrate you through everything that's in there, and if you've seen the previous video to this one, you'll already have seen a lot of what's going on in there, but I can't. And the reason that I can't is because we've already got some breeding success. So this block of aviaries initially last year was used for our twite conservation project. It is now no longer the moorlands, but should be the wetlands, and the reason for that is this aviary, this whole aviary, is housing our pair of bearded reedlings, so also known as bearded tits. They're a wetland species. They're a softbill species, which is different than what we usually keep, which is finches. They're housed in here. We've planted the aviary through. We've got a stream in there now, and we also also have a green feathers nest box camera above a nest site in there that has been very active this past sort of 10 days or so. And if you follow us on social media, you'll have seen a lot of this because the bearded reedlings have built a nest, and we now today have had the 6th egg laid. So let's take a closer look. As I'm sure you can imagine, I'm overjoyed with the news that the reedlings are breeding, particularly so soon. They're an inexperienced pair, they're a young pair that were bred last year, and I wasn't too sure how it would go. I just had to follow the breeder's guidance and anyone else who has kept this species before, because it is my first time keeping them, and just hope for the best and think, well, I must be doing something right. Anyway, with how well it's gone, I am unbelievably, over the moon that we've got the success we've had so far. Now, it is only 6 eggs. Are those eggs fertile? I don't know. The birds might know, but I don't know. They've actually only just began incubating in the past 2 or 3 days, and I say the 6th was laid this morning, so we could get up to maybe 8 eggs, I've heard, in some clutches of them. But we will see, and I will keep you updated. But that green feathers camera that we have up there, and I'll leave a link in the description to that camera if you're interested, it's fantastic. I'm going to do some live streams from that camera so you can see everything as it happens on that nest site as well. So make sure you're subscribed, because it'd be fantastic if you could tune in to the live streams on there. It's always really interesting to see what's happening, whether they're building the nest, which they were, whether they're incubating the eggs, seeing what happens, and it's really interesting to watch. So that is our start to the first couple of weeks of the breeding season. I'm really impressed with the start so far. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm just surprised how quickly everything got cracking. Having 6 out of the 7 greenie hens on eggs, all on 5 eggs each, is amazing, and I'm just hoping they're fertile. I mean, that's the first hurdle of many. Are the eggs full? If they are full, do they incubate them properly? The eggs hatch. Do the chicks actually survive? Do they feed the chicks? Do the chicks fledge? There's so many more hurdles to go through, and we'll get that when we get there, won't we? We'll work that out, but really pleased with it so far. We'll be putting the nest sites on for the red polls at the beginning of May, so I think by the time we come to the next episode, we'll have the nest sites on, and we'll see what they're doing. Hopefully, I think they will get cracking fairly quickly. And obviously, amazing news with the twites as well. We've got the twites, multiple pairs now built up, a couple of pairs with eggs, so all I can do is keep us fingers crossed, and let's hope for a very successful year. And I hope the same to you too. If you keep birds, you keep breeding birds, then please do let me know in the comment section what species you keep, and I do wish you a very successful breeding season. So this has been Breeding British Birds episode 1. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more from OC Avery, please make sure to subscribe down below, smash a like on this video, follow us on Instagram, Facebook and TikTok for daily updates and behind the scenes footage of all of our birds, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.